That's pretty impressive. That is pretty impressive, to quote Larry David. I still can't believe they pulled it off. How do you like that?
I know, it's almost like a miracle because there's not a lot of bands who could do that.
No. And if you look at AC/DC, who also did the same, the lead singers were in a much more similar vein, and it kind of kept right in tune with the AC/DC vibe. They not only changed, they kind of changed everything and got away with it. So that was incredible. They changed producers, they changed direction, they changed a lot of things. So they got away with that one for sure. Unbelievable. And number one has to be putting Eruption on Van Halen 1. And let me tell you, Eruption, as we talked about in our Van Halen 1 episode, it wasn't intended to be on the album, okay? It was Eddie warming up, and, Ted had the genius thought of recording him and including it on the album and positioning it where he did in the album, and it just, let's be honest, Eruption single-handedly launched generations of guitarists. I can't tell you how many people that I have met and interviewed that tell me that Eruption is what got them to pick up the playing the guitar. Eruption, the track, has done more for guitarists than any other track from any other band that I've ever heard. That one single track, that's nothing against Clapton or Hendrix, that one little instrumental track, whatever it is, a minute, whatever it is, that caused a revolution, that one track, and putting it where it did and the prominence it got on the album. Really, I mean, you can't say more. I mean, for Christ's sake, it's on the greatest hits. It's not a hit. It's not even a song. It's an instrumental segment that was two stitched together. And there it is, the genius of Eruption. It's pretty incredible, don't you think?
Who would have thought a warm-up for a live gig would have inspired an uncountable number of people to play guitar? Just mind-boggling when you think about it, the guy's skill set at the time.
It's the truth. And that wraps up our 50 for 50 on our 50th episode. So the 25 plus 25 is 50. This is our 50th episode. Dave, you're 50. I'm 50. It's 50s all around. And we are on to our interview with Billy Sheehan. And it's all coming up next. Take a listen.
My idols were never music. I have no musical influences, so to speak. My idols were always people like Genghis Khan or Muhammad Ali or Alexander the Great or the guy who invented McDonald's hamburgers. It was always somebody else far removed from music. And that's why a lot of times if you listen to Van Halen records, there's a lot of things that just seem not to have anything to do with rock and roll. That's because I've never written down any lyrics. Most of them are made up in the studio. Think about the line going up the back of the stockings, and that's what you just make it up. You talk.
Hey folks, I'd like to introduce you to the Classic Rock Album by Album podcast. Welcome to the Classic Rock Album by Album podcast, where no stone is left unturned in the show's epic quest to review and dissect every single rock album ever made. Join self-proclaimed rock authorities Chris Carson and Lee Bowie on their epic journey to uncover the true classics. You can find the Classic Rock Album by Album podcast wherever podcasts can be found, including Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Our website address is classicrockalbumbyalbum.libsyn.com. That's LIBSYN.com. And we can be reached on Facebook at fb.me/Classic Rock Album by Album. See you soon from the Classic Rock Album by Album podcast.
Hey, this is Bart Walsh from the David Lee Roth Band. You're listening to Dave and Dave Unchained.
Need a laugh? Check out the Funny How Comedy Podcast, which focuses on upbeat conversations with legendary comedians. It's free on Spreaker and iTunes. Check us out on Facebook at Funny How Comedy Podcast, on Twitter at Funny How Podcast, on Instagram at Funny How Comedy Podcast, or email us at funnyhowcomedypodcast@gmail.com.
They think alike. They're into a lot of their musical tastes are basically the same, and I mean they probably play as well together as any two musicians ever could, and sometimes it's kind of like I'm going, get my foot in the door here so I can air it out, you know, and get my 2 cents in. But it's great though, and. You know, and on the other hand, they are brothers, so you get that human element of it. But as far as musicians go, I mean, I've never met any two brothers or two musicians in a band, for that matter, that are just locked in, just like that.
Billy, how are ya?
Doing great.
Awesome. So now you have so many projects going all the time. You're like the busiest guy I've ever seen. How do you keep all these balls spinning?
Well, actually, there aren't that many. It's just Sons of Apollo and Winery Dogs. Winery Dogs is taking most of 2020 off. We're going to write and get ready to prepare a record to release in 2021.
Okay.
And then Sons of Apollo, we just had a live record come out from the last tour we did, and we'll be starting a new tour in January.
Right.
So that's it, really. Mr. Big is kind of in an unknown state at this point. We don't know what we're going to do.
Okay.
Whether we're going to actually play together again or not.
Uh-huh.
And that's really about it. There's not a lot else.
I just saw you playing Talus not earlier this year. That was a
I
great
forgot about
show.
Talus.
You forgot about Talus.
And actually, we just got a record deal to do an album. So
wow.
We're going to take the songs, because we played a lot of songs in that band that were never recorded.
Right.
So we're going to go in and record them the way we used to play them.
Right.
With the original guys. Mitch Perry was the original guitarist. I'm hoping that he will agree to do a couple tracks on the record. We're going to certainly invite him. And another guy, Johnny Angel, was the other guitar player. We're going to do the same with him. Hopefully they can join us for a couple tracks, just so we have the original lineup on there also. But we're excited about it, because we've done a couple shows with Talus recently, and they've been no drama, nothing but fun, enjoyable, great people coming out to see us, seeing old friends we haven't seen for almost 32 years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw you at the Iridium, and that show was fantastic, and it was such energy. I mean, it's incredible, and you felt the love in that room. People were going nuts.
Oh, it was a beautiful experience.
Yeah.
So we're real pleased about that, and so we'll get to work on a record very soon.
Right. Well, that's how I first discovered you, because when I heard you were in Roth's band, I started doing some research, and I found Talus, and I was listening to Talus before I even heard Eat 'Em and Smile, and I fell in love with that record. Then, obviously I saw you in Dave's band, and that was fantastic. So it's amazing how many things you're involved with. Now, Mr. Big, so sorry for your loss with Pat. I mean, that was heartbreaking. I mean, it really was.
Yeah, that was a real tough situation.
Yeah.
Very sad.
Yeah. And so do you think that there will be more going forward, or is that something that you're letting it simmer for a while, or have you talked with Eric and Paul? And
that's a good way of putting it. It's going to simmer for a while.
Yeah.
We'll see. All of us, we did go out for a little while to complete the dates we'd already committed.
Right.
The band to, with Matt Starr on drums. He did a great job and sang really great.
He was great.
He's a dear friend. He plays with Ace Frehley
Uh-huh.
and a lot of other artists too. He's quite a busy, sought after player.
Yeah.
So we had a great time, but it just of course it's not the same.
Right.
So we wanted to just pull back, live our lives for a little while, and then get together at some point and decide, do we want to go out, or we just want to let things stay? So it could go either way for us.
Sure.
Which is because a lot of bands out there, there's a part of us that says, there's a lot of bands that are out there that the only thing left original in the band is the logo.
Right.
And there's not even any original players in it.
No. Yeah.
And no offense to them, and I'm glad that they're playing. And the fans enjoy it. That's cool, and everybody needs to earn a living. But we didn't like being out without the original.
Sure.
Situation, what
Sure,
I mean? So we'll see what happens. I would love to play those songs again.
Yeah.
Eric and Paul are my dear friends.
Yeah.
And so whatever happens, it will be a cool thing for all of us, I'm sure.
I think so. It's also, keep in mind that you have a beautiful body of work. It's so rare, the chemistry that you have with Eric and Paul. It's so rare. And, we're losing bands left and right as it is. So, we really want to cherish the ones that we have that are still amazing. And you guys still have such fire, almost in memory of Pat, because he had such a spirit for the band. He loved Mr. Big. Even when he was at the shows, I remember I saw a show, B.B. King's. I mean, he only played a couple songs, but he was more there as a cheerleader for you guys,
Exactly.
And he was unbelievable, So, I mean, my God, I'm sure Japan must be calling you all the time to do stuff because they love you in Japan.
Yeah, we've done well in South America and Europe as well.
Yeah.
But by the way, thanks it's very kind of you to say all that. I appreciate that very much. I'm glad you feel that way, and I think a lot of other people do too. So we'll see what's shaking with it. I love those songs, and I still love playing "To Be With You."
Oh, well, of course, it's a classic.
So we hope we'll see what happens. I'm positive that at some point something we'll be able to do some type of performance in some capacity.
Excellent.
So I'm hoping.
Now, the Winery Dogs, you recently got back together for a quick tour this spring. How did that go?
Amazing. Not a minute of drama. Every place was packed. Most shows were sold out or oversold. What a blast to be back with Richie and Mike again. I love playing in that band.
Yeah.
I grew up in a 3-piece band in Dallas.
Sure.
And playing 3 pieces where everybody sings is really cool. So we're going to get together at some point next year and start to map out material and songs in a new record.
Wow.
And I think it's kind of good. I hope other people concur with me on this, but to just kind of, instead of album tour, you break off for a minute, let it sink in, and then when we come back to record a new album, we've all lived a little bit of life.
Yeah.
So that'll be kind of a fresh approach again.
Sure.
As opposed to just having to churn out a record because it's that time of year.
Yeah. What type of direction do you think it'll head in, the third album?
I have no idea.
Yeah. Well,
which is good.
Yeah.
Let nature take its course,
Sure. Now, Sons of Apollo is just an unbelievable, epic group. I mean, that band is so powerful. What does it feel like to play with those guys? I mean, you guys seem like a rocket ship. It's so intense.
Well, thank you again. It's a blast. I love playing with Mike Portnoy on drums. We played in a lot of situations, and we lock in together really well. A shining star within the band, Bumblefoot, just kills on guitar.
Unbelievable guy, yeah. They're all amazing, every one of them.
Yeah, Jeff Scott Soto on vocals, Derek's keyboards. It's a riot. It takes a little more coordination because you got 5 guys up there.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving
parts. But also gives you a lot more opportunity for arrangements and making it an exciting night for everybody that's there, even non-musicians. And that's kind of important for us to reach people like that. That's where Jeff Scott Soto does an amazing job, being a front man and being an amazing voice, making it an entertaining night for everybody there. Yeah. We're excited about the new record. The singles got, I just checked the comments out, a couple hundred comments on my page. Never saw a single negative.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Goodbye, Divinity. I would imagine the reaction's got to be tremendous. It's like a sledgehammer of a track.
Yeah, we're real pleased with the response. When we recorded that stuff, when I did my bass parts, it's challenging. There's a lot of stuff on there that's not easy to play. It took me, I forgot what the song is, but I had to play some of Ron's guitar lines on bass, and it was I wanted to strangle him the next time I saw him because it took me a long time to get that stuff down, but I did finally prevail, but it was not easy. But we were laughing about it because it's but I like a challenge like that sometimes. It's not easy and automatic. You have to really dig deep and plant yourself in your spot in the studio and hit it as hard as you possibly can to get it right. That's a cool challenge. And then when you learn that solidly and perform it live, it's just a great, satisfying thing to be able to pull that stuff off live. The whole last tour we did, every night, there's one particular part of one song. Mike and I would look at each other and high five or fist bump each other that we got through it yet again.
Right.
Because it's tough to play.
Yeah. Mike always loves a challenge. You know him. He's a wild man. The album is called MMXX. Does that stand for 2020?
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
That's
great.
the Roman numerals of 2020. Yes,
Awesome.
sir.
And so now, how would you describe the direction of the album?
Well, I think in a way it's a little harder and heavier than